listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from. All that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
Around any bend in any road, any time of the day or night, Central Hudson crews can be found working in the Hudson Valley. From Montgomery to Millerton, Freehold to Fishkill, and many points in between. We mark our work zones for safety's sake. As a driver, you can do your part too. Slow down, pay attention, put down the phone, and obey the flaggers. Be prepared to stop and maintain a safe distance from the vehicle in front of you. Safety matters.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go.
Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, April 7th, 2022.
Good morning, Kingston.
Good morning, Kingston, and Hudson, a lot of good portion of Ulster County, I hope.
Yeah.
Particularly north. So, my name is Brian Waltman. I'm joining you in the studio again, my co-host, Len Bernardo.
How you doing, guys?
I hope everybody's doing well out there. It's for some of us, Len, today's kind of a holiday for some of us.
What happened?
It's a sports related thing. Today is the first round of the Masters golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia, which is something I think about all winter long. When's the Masters going to get here? Because once you get to this week, in spite of the rainy day today, you know that we're looking at spring. And it's also today also happens to be the opening day of the baseball season.
So there's a new golfer, I guess, that's playing this year. Tiger something Woods?
Yeah, Tiger Woods. Yeah, Tiger Woods he's the big comeback. But there's also a Hudson Valley player.
Is that right?
Yes, he's from Scarsdale, New York. He plays out of Sleepy Hollow Country Club down in Sleepy Hollow. His name is Cameron Young.
Is that right?
Yep, was a Met golfer. He was an amateur golfer, a perennial champ here for years in our area. And some of our local golfers that are very well-known Hertigan players have played against him at various times. But he turned professional. He's having a lot of success, and he qualified for the Masters for the first time this year.
What was the kid's name in Roundout? His dad was the pro.
Oh, Chris DeForest.
Oh, yeah, DeForest.
And I wasn't going to mention, but Andrew Young beat Chris DeForest.
Right?
So Cameron Young, I should say. So we have if folks want to follow the Masters tournament this year, and even from looking from a sort of a local perspective, player Cameron Young from the Hudson Valley is in the Masters this year. So there's something to follow.
Oh, it's exciting stuff. I tell you, on Saturday, I guess a lot of the Masters stuff is on, the golf is on. And that's the best time for me to take my nap. I try to watch it.
I understand. I completely understand that. But Heidi Haynes is with us.
Is she?
Yep. Good morning, Heidi.
Are we done talking about golf?
No, well, we're interested in your thoughts on golf, Heidi.
I'm with Len. I think I'll be taking a nap that day.
Oh, that's good. Sweet dreams, then.
No, I actually play hit and hunt.
Okay, that's fun. That's a fun game.
It's a fun game.
When I first started playing golf, I'm sorry, Heidi, but when I first started, I used to keep, you keep score by the number of strokes to get the ball in the hole. I used to keep score another way. If I lost balls, if I lost a ball, I was -1. If I went into the woods to look for it and I found 3 others, I was +2.
Gotcha. There you go.
And when I first started playing, that's how I used to keep score by how many balls I'd either lose or find.
Oh, it's true. It's an interesting game.
It is. Heidi, how's things in Marbletown this morning?
Good. The only thing I like is mini golf, though, with my family. I will say that.
That is fun.
That's fun.
We do love our mini golf up in Lake George. We do that every year.
I was always a windmill. I like the windmill.
I would like to. That's one thing about Lake George. You can play mini golf from one side of that town to the other.
Yeah. Do mini golf and ride the go-karts. But anyway, good morning, everyone. Len and Brian.
Good morning, Heidi.
Yeah, and today happens to be National Beer Day.
I didn't know that.
And also World Health Day on the same day.
That seems contradictory, doesn't it?
Well, they say that, sometimes beer is healthy for you.
That's true.
No, it's a world of today, Heidi. Health Day.
Yeah, today's World Health Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you should do healthy things. Len.
So what should we be doing today? Walking?
If you walk between the raindrops.
Yeah, it's going to rain today a lot.
Yeah, later on today.
And I guess the Yankee game is canceled tonight.
They already postponed it. Yep. So that's okay. That means I have less conflict this afternoon when I'm sitting home watching. I can just focus on the golf.
So is golf on like national? Is it it's ESPN?
It'll be on ESPN from 3 to 7:30. 3 to 7:30 this evening. Okay. It'll be on ESPN. Although if you go to themasters.com, it'll stream all day.
Hold on a second.
I clumsily just spilled my water in the studio, folks. So Len ran out to get some paper. Heidi, do you ever get spills at your dinner table, Heidi?
Yeah, I actually spilled my water the other day on my desk at work. First time I've ever done that, so it does happen.
I remember sometimes at dinner, when I was young, it always seemed it was something like that would happen. It's just always a mess.
I think you never did that in the chamber.
No, I never did. No, I never did. Maybe I should have.
Yeah. But in any case, yesterday was a great day. It was the first day that Thornderkill Farms was open out in Accord. The first day of their new season, so that motivated me to get out of bed and was able to have my nice cup of coffee for my long drive to work.
Okay. Are you back to work now? I mean, back in the office, I should say.
Don't ask. We'll just move it along.
All right.
Move it along.
So tell us a little bit about Thornderkill Farms. For some of us are unfamiliar, I think I've driven past it a couple times.
Oh, then you need to stop, Brian. It's beautiful. It's owned by the Schoonmaker family. I don't believe it's sold. Has it, Len?
What's that? No, it has not sold.
Okay, so Schoonmaker family owns it. It's on Route 209, and it's more than just your typical farm stand. It's different treats and foods and breakfast sandwiches, and of course there's
Great lunches.
Lunches, yep.
Yeah.
Is it a dine-in or a takeout?
Both.
Okay.
Yep, both.
Oh, no, it's stunning.
Is it really?
Yeah, it really is stunning. I guess, we lost Kathy Schoonmaker several years back. Alice Schoonmaker as well. So Jack's still with us. The boys are still with us. And Jen, the granddaughter, and her husband really manage it now.
Okay.
Yeah, great people.
Yeah, that's like on the turn, like as you come. It's near Cohasset, or Accord, I think.
Accord, yeah.
Accord, I used to know all those towns in sequential order between here. When we would go to my grandparents' cabin up in Sholem and near Napa.
Is that right?
We used to get quizzed my grandfather would quiz us. Name all the towns that you went through in order, and we'd have to know them all. Hurley, Stone Ridge,
Yeah, I can't. It's funny. I was telling Terry we were in Albany a couple of days, but I was telling Terry as we drove through 209 to get to 87, going up to Albany. The little things you miss about town, and Saunderskill is obviously one of them. The best, what is it, apple cider donuts, Heidi?
Yeah, the apple cider donuts.
Yeah, they're amazing.
That is so true, Len, when you say that, because, I've been working outside of Ulster County, and Orange County is really great, but you do miss your eateries, your food places. I mean,
yeah, little things.
The little things like that. Speaking of which, oh my gosh, what a shocker when I saw they tore down Roy Rogers.
On the Thruway?
Yes.
Yes, because they're redoing all the Thruway rest stops.
Well, I have a story about a Thruway restaurant.
Okay.
So last night we're coming down back home, and I said to Terry, I got to go to Little Boy Sandbox. So I stopped, and there was McDonald's there. Do you know there's price differences between the McDonald's in town and any local town and the Thruway prices of McDonald's?
And let me guess, the Thruway prices are higher.
Higher? So the dollar...
A captive audience, that's what you are.
The most inexpensive way to get a soft drink, right? Because I'm a senior citizen, I'm on a fixed income, and want to make sure we eliminate school taxes, property tax. But I stop in McDonald's to get $1 any size soda. Do you know how much $1 any size soda is on Thruway McDonald's?
I'm gonna guess at least $2.75.
$3.75.
Whoa! Wow.
Yeah. So here I am. It's about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm discussing the price of soda with the McDonald's manager. It wasn't pretty.
Oh, man. But yeah, Roy Rogers, when I worked in Poughkeepsie, there was a Roy Rogers there, and I used to love Roy Rogers.
Is that right?
I used to be a fan. And is that the one up in...
So I want to be clear, because I did get a comment on my social media from my cousin who said, ew, who eats at Roy Rogers? Now, do I love Roy Rogers food? Not necessarily. But that was the exit that on our way up, our trip that we've taken for 20 years back and forth to Lake George, I tow the golf cart, Wayne tows the camper. We would swing in there. It was easy access at New Baltimore Rest area.
Yep.
We would all, with the kids, we'd all get our food, go out, sit on the golf cart, hang out by the camper in the parking lot, and eat our food. We'd do that on the way up, and we'd do that on the way back. It was just a nice stopping point for us. 20 years we did that twice a year. So was I a regular patron at,
Sure.
Roy Rogers? Not really.
But it was
I was like Len. I, too, was leaving Albany the other day and thought I could just I said, maybe I should use the restroom before I leave. I said, no, I'll stop in New Baltimore. Yeah, that wasn't happening.
No,
it's, yeah.
I think they're going to be rebuilding all those.
They are, and it's, who knows, but it is what it is.
But that one's a really happening one. They actually have a nice farm stand there.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, that was that whole
Taste of New York.
Taste of New York. That's exactly right. Yeah. That was the initiative, Brian.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Hey, Len, I wanted to run this by you before I jump off real quick. I didn't know this was happening. A statewide absentee ballot tracker's been launched.
Say that again?
The New York State Board of Elections has released a new statewide absentee ballot tracker that will allow any voter in the state to monitor the status of their absentee ballot.
Yeah, that happened last year.
This new tool will help voters track their ballot and ensure their vote is counted.
Yeah, what happened, basically what was going on was, if you communicated with the BOE via paper, so in other words, if you dropped off your absentee ballot form, they would give it to you, right? And there was no way of tracking that. And the other way you could do it is via email, where you could request the email without a signature.
I see.
Right? So that became easier. But now what's going on is that they have to input, at the BOE, they have to input the ones that come over the counter so you could track it. Because there was a lot of either ballots that were not sent out on time so people could vote them, or in receiving them back, they weren't being input. So you have an opportunity now to watch your ballot as it goes through the system.
It's helpful.
Yeah. It is.
It's helpful.
It's just a lot more work for the BOE. And this is, like everything else, why cost of Board of Elections, as you guys know, you guys vote on the budget, right? Yeah. How much money to give to these cats.
Yeah. Even when we had this one special election for county executive, how much, that was a 300,000 plus tab.
Absolutely.
For that way to have two general elections in one calendar year, which was ridiculous.
What is the, I guess the average is $12,000 a town?
Yeah, something like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's expensive to put on an election.
No question about it.
And one last thing before I'm going to jump off here momentarily. Still no budget passed in Albany.
Yeah, we were talking about that coming in.
I was saying to Brian, I said a bunch of several assembly guys were playing wiffle ball on the green in front of the Capitol yesterday.
No disrespect, though, it's probably the most productive thing they did all day.
They had nothing to do, you see, and until they're asked to go home or told to go home, or they cancel the session until they reconvene, they can leave. But ironically, I asked that question. What did they say to you guys? Say, when do you have to reconvene? He says, we're here on Monday.
Yeah.
So they're there all weekend long.
I saw that they're going to be, but I guess it's now. I've read a couple articles. We're back to 3 people in a room. Then that's what's happening.
It's been like that forever.
It has, but but they were trying. I guess this year,
but it's
local pledge to do something different. But apparently, we're not going to.
The reason, let's face the hard facts
here. The thing that we're doing different is we're not passing an on-time budget. That's bad. That was the one thing that Cuomo was good with. We passed an on-time budget because things were sideways for many years with getting the budget passed. So, this is, we're a week outside of the deadline. They passed the extender bill, so we will get paid somewhat on time. But, again...
Listen, I understand your issue, but here's how I see this thing, right? I don't care if it's late, as long as it's a productive late. But this is not a productive late. This is where, really, sincerely, it's the $1 billion of the football stadium.
Yep, that got thrown in 4 days before the budget was due.
They didn't know about. And the bail reform stuff that Hastings and Cousins is just pushing back on.
Sure.
They're completely blind to the fact that, crime is up hundreds of percentage points. So, listen, I have to tell you, if it was a productive delay, I could see it. But it's not. And that's what's so... Again,
though, there are effects. I mean, and particularly now, our school budgets that we're going to be voting on May 10th here. Our local school boards haven't passed their budget yet because they're...
We've got to wait for the school runs to come out. We don't know what's in there.
Right, exactly, and it's all impacted by a late budget, and it's just so. I don't know what we're going to be voting on May 10th. So.
Well, I'd vote on the fact that we should, exclude the senior citizens.
We should get into that, Len.
We got senior man here.
We should get into that. I'm approaching senior.
Senator Martucci did introduce the bill.
I know he did.
Yeah.
Heidi, could you tell us about it? I'm unaware of what the senator did.
So he introduced a bill excluding seniors, income-based, to be excluded from certain taxes.
And that's okay. Is there a chance of that passing, or?
Better be.
Well, currently in committee.
Okay.
He introduced it, I think.
Well, in a funny way, as long as it stays in committee, I'm okay with that. So it still has a life.
Right, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, we just have to wait it out for 20, 30, 40 years.
It's to eliminate property taxes for those over 60.
Well, I'll be 60 in October.
See?
But there is an income limit also.
I'm sure I'm below that.
I'm below that. I'm way below that now too.
Who make less than $100,000 per year.
There you go. Speaking of which, taxes. Oh God, I got my taxes back. I'm not happy.
No.
Oh,
You were happy the other day. Now
not
you're
happy
not happy?
now. What
What
happened?
happened? See, I told you that's because your neighbor. I told you what was going to happen.
No, it's not my house tax, property tax. It's the income tax.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah. Can't tell you anything about that.
I did mine in February.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had mine done before Valentine's Day.
I'm gonna.
Because I need to know my bad news as early as possible.
Exactly.
If I could wait on the good news, I need to know my bad news as early as I can. That way I can make some plans and adjustments.
I didn't want to hear it, but we got it. It's like, yeah. So it is what it is, I guess.
It is.
Yeah, I guess
is
the
what it
alternative
is.
is not having.
Well, think of all the value you're getting for your taxes.
All right, it's stunning. I get my roads plowed.
Yeah, and I'm sure that has nothing to do with your federal taxes.
No, not at all.
Of course not.
You know, it's funny. We have Joe Pinion on, so we get to talk to him about this stuff.
We do.
It's going to be a great show today, by
Yeah,
the way.
you guys really have a great lineup.
Yeah, we have Joe Jenkins from Central Hudson coming on at 7:30.
Amador coming what time?
Amador's coming in at 8:30.
And we have Joe Pinion at 8.
8, yeah. So
yeah, it's a great show.
Good. That's great.
So Heidi, I have to ask this question, and it's only because it's just where we are in Albany. I mean, here you work for the Senate, and you see what's going on. How many phone calls do you get a day from constituents who want to know what's going on?
Not as many as we do for Central Hudson, so you better let that guy know.
Yeah.
Really, huh? Well, that's really a mess.
Yep.
There's people still complaining.
They are, and I also want to.
I just helped a constituent actually out from your old area there. It ended up being Oberackers, but I respectfully forwarded it. They received a property. They received a Central Hudson bill for vacant land. They own a piece of property that they have not yet built on, but there is service there. So typically you'd be charged for the meter, right? It's vacant land.
Right.
They received a bill for $1,400.
So they're using too much electricity on that piece
on that
of
vacant
land.
piece of land, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
in any case,
oh, by the way, I checked my meter. I have an analog meter. I looked at it the other day.
good old kind. Keep it.
Yeah, the spin. It was barely spinning. I was happy to see that too.
Don't change it.
No, I never will. I'll guard it with my life.
Guard it with your
Heidi,
life.
what in God's name could a vacant parcel? How can they use that
So
much?
their bill, after it was rectified, I believe it was like $140.
Oh, okay.
How much?
$140. It went from
As a-
$1,400
Oh,
to
40.
10. So the bill was 10
One-
times wrong.
Yes, it was. It was. They had, as the representative indicated, I think the last time he was on your show, they've had a series of issues, billing and whatnot. So clearly, it was a billing error. Vacant land. You'll get charged for a meter, whether or not you actually,
That's correct.
So that's usually. I don't even know what that costs. Maybe
Service
$60.
charge.
Yeah, just
Like
to have that.
a minimum fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, well, ask today. That's a good question. If you have a vacant piece of property, but you have electric to it, and you have a meter on it, what's the minimum cost?
Yeah, I think it used to be like $40 or something. I don't know what it's gone up to now, but
That-
nonetheless,
yeah.
it wouldn't be $1,400. Good morning, Bryce. Want to say good morning to Len and Brian on the radio?
Morning, Bryce.
Hello, Bryce.
What's going on, guys? Good morning.
What's going on? What are you up to today, bud?
Not a whole lot. I was just on the computer. I was just, doing a lot of like, computer related shit.
Good.
So I mean, it's pretty fun. But what's going on with you guys? Anything good? What's new?
No, nothing much with me. Just running around, on bright and sunny Kingston this morning.
Yeah, it is. It's very sunny here in Kingston
Yes,
this morning.
it's-
It's not April Fool's anymore. Sorry, folks.
No, the spring is coming, so
It is. It is. My forsythia is in bloom. So
We're
that's
almost there. We're almost there, boys. Just keep
I
it
hope.
going a little bit longer.
yeah.
that's right.
And the Master starts today. I just toss at it again.
Yeah, Bryce and I probably sit in the same places with that little white ball
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's a good thing.
And baseball
hey,
starts today, too, so that's also good.
That's another sport that I really do enjoy. No, actually, I like baseball during the play of some World
So, Bryce, what's new in your world? How you doing these days?
So recently I've been looking to go back to college for like programming and coding.
Uh-huh.
So I'm out here really trying to, like learn on my own before I go back. But, it's a hard world college is now, They got a lot of it's a lot of just jumping through hoops really. But, you got to do it. You got to, get down there and really grind for what you want to get in life.
Really,
that's well said. That's very wise.
Yeah.
That's a very wise thing you just said there. You really have to grind for what you want, no doubt.
Yeah,
definitely, gentlemen.
And that's the
listen,
question:
guys,
how do you figure out what you want?
It's hard. It took me a long time. I'll tell you that much. Like you have to sit there for so long and really just like think about what you want out of life, and it takes a lot out of you. It really does. But
sure, it does.
Although sometimes the best things come to you in life, though, as well.
It's really, really funny.
Combination.
Bryce, it's so different. Listen, I'm 60,000 years old here, but the reality is that my job came through me because of some mechanical ability. I learned how to fix planes, and then I took that to the fixing printing equipment, and I took that to creating a printing company. But it was because that's where it led me. So
yeah, definitely, yeah, totally. When you see those opportunities and whatever you see along the way, you always have to seize. You always have to take what you can get.
Yeah, it's true.
Any potential leg up in this world is it's a gift.
Flexible.
It really is.
Yeah,
but definitely. You always have to be on the lookout.
I will tell you what I found interesting, and I don't know, how much interest you have in this, but these appliances today, whether it be a dishwasher or a refrigerator or an oven or a microwave, you can't get a repairman. They don't exist.
No, absolutely not. And that's another thing that really gets me going is like the right to repair in this country. For a long time now, you've been seeing like Apple products and Dell products and all these big company products coming out, making it more and more difficult for the average consumer to repair their electronics. And that really gets me going, man. I believe that if I spend my money on the product, I definitely have the right to repair the product. And, you really see it a lot more, like nothing's built to last. I mean, we just threw out our microwave that was going for like 20 years, I mean, no problems up until the thing literally fell apart on us. But
Yep. No, I get it. And so, you look at that stuff and you're looking to get into the application side, that application side can be a huge situation, whether it be how to fix it yourself or create a company that you can fix. Because all they do is replace boards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all about the boards and the chips that they put in these things. That's all it is.
Yep.
You guys know they put the little chips on the printer ink, right? So when you go through your printer, even if you got most of the time you'll have 50% more printer ink before it says you're run out. So they put these chips on there to just limit you from using all this stuff. It's pretty crazy. It really is.
Have you been talking to Terry?
Have I been talking to Terry? Why, no. Does Terry believe that?
Well, not only does she believe it,
Mm-hmm.
but she has this idea if she takes an alcohol rub to this little, and it's I guess it's a chip, but it's this little copper thing, and she washes it, she could, cleans
Extend
it.
the life?
It's got a little life for another, a couple hundred copies.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how it works. It really is, man. They definitely, they want to take your money, and it's.
So in other words, with my laser printer at home, I just went out earlier this week and got all new cartridges because it said I probably really wasn't.
It depends. Some of the inkjet stuff.
This is the laser.
It has this liquid.
Yeah.
You can actually see them going down.
Right, no, these are the cartridges that just go in.
Right. The cartridges that go in. Yeah, those you gotta Bryce has a really valid point.
So
there.
maybe because I was printing some stuff earlier this week, and I noticed the quality wasn't as good.
Correct.
And I said, well, I'm out. I bought all new, the whole array, all the colors, magenta, all of them, threw them all in, and finished my printing, and everything came out fine. But am I now learning that maybe I didn't get the full value of those prior cartridges?
You may have not gotten.
That's something I didn't even consider.
That's where they screw you over. They really
the ignorant consumer here didn't know. Didn't know that.
That's what Bryce is talking. And obviously Terry's kind of funny about it. She goes, I think there's stuff in here. I can feel it.
You know it too. You can feel it. It's still got weight to it. Look it up. You guys can go online and look this up right now. They do always. I've heard anywhere up to like 50% of the ink still stays in there. It's pretty ridiculous. But I wouldn't say it's that much. But still, it's insane.
Course.
Enough to fit. I probably had enough to finish the job I was working on.
Yeah, absolutely. There always is. And even if you run out of like cyan ink or like even if you don't need it, you still got to have it in there for most of them.
That's correct.
To buy it.
That is correct. No, it's funny you're talking about this stuff because this is the kind of stuff that drives people crazy.
And by the way, I went out and bought I won't give the name, but HP. I bought the brand name cartridges.
You should.
Yeah, to use, and it wasn't cheap. It was like.
No,
oh
and
my
then
goodness.
If you don't, you do get credit for the old cartridges.
Yeah, you send them back. Right.
I do that.
Yeah, I did that too. I sent them out day before yesterday.
I'm good at recycling. I am.
Interesting.
Yeah, you don't want to put that stuff in the trash.
No.
Especially if it has stuff.
Well,
in
hey,
it.
listen, gentlemen. I thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Definitely keep your eyes peeled about the printer ink and all that other kind of right to repair stuff. That's it's something I really feel is near and dear to my heart, at least. Just the right to be able to fix all this stuff and fix what you want to fix because you paid for it at the end of the day. It's your money going into it.
And that's the app you should be talking about. And thinking about creating.
I was just saying, yeah.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Bryce, thanks a million. It was really good chatting with you, and all the best to you.
Yeah, the best to you guys as well. Honestly, just keep. All we can really do is just keep our heads screwed on right.
That's it.
That's exactly right.
At my age, it's pretty difficult, Bryce.
Yeah, believe me too. It's getting to be real confusing out here.
I think at any age it's difficult. All right, Bryce. Have a great day. Heidi, be well. And thanks for everything. Great chatting with you guys.
Hang on a second. We're going to go to break.
Have a great day, guys.
Well, I guess we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Central Hudson. And they're resuming their gas replacement project here in Kingston. So I will question about where we stand on that. How close are we to the end of this project? Because it's been a long time.
New meters in?
New gas lines, mains in the streets.
Really?
Yeah. And try to go easy on them this time, would you? I'm kidding.
Hey,
they are an underwriter. It's all good.
I know.
We'll be back in a few minutes after this break.
Okay.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM. And also online at mykcr.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
At Central Hudson, safety is our highest priority. That's why we ask you to keep a clear path to electric and gas meters and eliminate all obstructions, including snow, ice, vegetation overgrowth, storage boxes, garbage, or any other kind of debris. Access to meters is important for safety inspections too, and failing to provide access can result in fines. For more information, visit the safety section of centralhudson.com.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
On top of first-class care, you will never receive a bill. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
A powerful community bank is one that has leaders that are involved in their community. At Rondout Savings Bank, they invest in the success of our community by working side by side with local people and local businesses. When you choose to bank Rondout, you are part of a bank that is dedicated to the future of your success and the success of your community. Rondout Savings welcomes you to open an account today and discover what it means to be part of a powerful community bank, one that knows you by name. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and our community, with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park, also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Okay,
Good
let's
morning.
go, Brandon.
Good morning. Hey, good morning, everybody.
I got Joe Jenkins on the line from Central Hudson. Good morning, Joe.
Hey, Joe, good morning. I'm Brian Waltman.
Len Bernardo. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
We're on the radio. Joe from Central Hudson, Joe Jenkins, thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate it. Joe, we got a question. The city of Kingston, recently they announced the streets that are going to be worked on this year as part of the ongoing, continuing gas main replacement project that's going on in Kingston. The very necessary project, by the way, although it can be disruptive while they're doing it on your block. I had mine done a couple years ago, and it can be disruptive, but again, it's very necessary. Joe, a lot of people in Kingston are wondering about that project, though. How far along are we on that? I mean, are we halfway done in Kingston, or a third done, or maybe 2/3 done? Where do we stand on that project as its completion, towards completion?
Sure. Well, in terms of and good morning to you, by the way. In terms of the project and this year and how we've started, we've only just started this project for this section for this year. Maybe about a week ago.
Correct.
So, and so for this year, we're looking to replace about just under 14,000 feet of gas lines within the city of Kingston. So, and we expect it to take about overall 6 months to complete. So, and now, there's a number of streets that are involved with this project. So, we're not going to be in front of someone's home for 6 months.
No, I know. Yeah, you typically I can speak because they did it. They were on my block for about 4 or 5 days. And then they came back a few weeks later for another 2 days. That's basically how it worked. But the question is, for the overall project, this has been a multi-year endeavor. And just a lot of us are wondering in Kingston, how far along are we in this multi-year project? Do we have any information on that?
I could give you a sort of a high-level view, and I think we could safely say that we're about 2/3 of the way through the overall project within the city of Kingston.
That's good to know, because it is, and obviously then the contractor that you've hired goes back in and resurfaces that portion of the street. But it does, again, subsequently the city will have to come in and repair the rest of the street that wasn't impacted by this. But a lot of people are just curious in town how far along we are on that, because, again, from just the homeowner and resident, it does get a little wearisome, because as you try to navigate the city and you end up with detours and stuff. And interestingly enough, in the city of Kingston, there are many landlocked dead ends and stuff. So there's only really one way in or one way out on some of these streets, and it does make it difficult for motorists and people to get in and out. So, Joe, anything that you have news for us from Central Hudson as far as since the last time we chatted?
Yeah, I think it's on everyone's mind. Everyone has been looking into our billing system and the concerns surrounding that, and it is definitely worth addressing, and we've made really very significant progress in implementing the fixes that customers are looking for. So, we expect that the majority of our customers who had been experiencing problems, and again, it wasn't all of our customers, it was certain subsets. But we expect that those customers that were impacted by our billing transition will have corrected bills by the end of April, and they'll be back on their regular, normal Central Hudson billing cycle by that time. So we appreciate everyone's patience. We know that it's been a stressful time, and that there are certain elements of this transition that we wish we could have performed a little bit better on to meet our customers' expectations. But we do believe that we're in the home stretch with this, and customers should start to get a sense of normalcy around this here pretty soon.
Of course, that also depends on the markets as it relates to the natural gas and electricity markets, how what impact they could have as well, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, that's a great point. You know, we continue to see volatility within the energy market. I think since the last time we spoke, what we saw the supply price for electricity dip a little bit, still at elevated levels from what we've seen historically, but significantly lower from what we saw from the February billing period. But natural gas continued to increase a little bit, not as dramatic of a spike as we saw from January to February, but for the April billing period, we're going to see another slight increase in natural gas supply prices. Now, that being said, April is a month historically where it is a little bit warmer and the days are a little bit longer, so generally speaking, a customer's usage over the course of these months tends to be less than it is in the colder months, and so it may not have the same kind of bill impact that we saw customers experience in January and February.
It's an interesting issue because it's become a confused situation. You have the increase of price cost, and you have the billing issue. We just heard from someone earlier before you came on who was representing Senator Martucci and Heidi Hayes, have someone call her and say, listen, I have an empty lot that has electricity and a meter on it, and the bill was $1,400. That's clearly, a billing issue. They resolved it, and the issue, I guess it's a $40. We don't even know what the charge is just to have a meter on a vacant property. But these are the kinds of things that, obviously are concerned to people, and obviously justifiably.
Yeah.
So you guys have to, there's some stuff that has to be done. We're hearing stories about, 3 and 4 bills in an envelope. It's silly stuff. But, thank God you guys are getting through it.
Yeah, we are getting through it. And to explain some of these multiple billings, we know that has been a source of concern for a lot of folks. And in a lot of those instances, what is happening is the folks that are receiving those bills are folks that were part of a subset of customers that hadn't received bills in multiple months. So when they're receiving these multiple bills, it's not as though we are sending them, 4 or 5 or 6 actual bills. What we're doing is we're sending them canceled bills that reconcile to show that we are billing them for that they have essentially been billed for the usage they used during a specific time period, so that they're being charged for the supply rates that applied during those times. And then they receive the most current bill, which reflects the balance that they actually owe for the entire balance of the time that they were experiencing billing issues.
Well, it's really funny, Joe. I
Go
actually stuck up for you. So this one person is telling me, Len, I hadn't gotten a bill in 4 months, and now I get this huge bill. I says, well, were you calling them when you weren't getting a bill? Were you complaining about that? And they stared at me. I was like, well, think about that for a second. So here you are in this, what you're considering a billing problem, and you yourself did not react when you had not gotten a bill. So it's really an interesting double-edged sword here. So I do feel for you, because stuff is not free, So it's difficult. It's difficult. So thanks for your energy trying to get this stuff straightened out for these people. But that I found ironic. When I said this to this woman, she said to me, well, then I hadn't really thought of it that way. I says, well, if you call up your customer service rep and say, by the way, I haven't gotten billed this month, what should I do? That could have been a question. But anyway, it's crazy.
And we appreciate it. And to your point, I think whether folks are worried about a bill they have received or haven't received, if they have any sort of questions or confusion surrounding their Central Hudson bill, we do want them to reach out to us. We do want to address those concerns one-on-one and make sure that we get it right, because we do value our customers. They are incredibly important to us, and we want to make sure that we establish a strong foundation of trust with them.
Joe, the billing problems that people have encountered with Central Hudson, are they predominantly more of the people who are not on the budget plan, or is it our budget plan people, have they been affected by it as well?
Yeah, there have been some folks on the budget plan that have been impacted by this. That's another group of customers that we expect by the end of the month that should be, back onto a normal billing cycle. So it really has been subsets of customers that have more, complex billing. More billing complexities to their account, I should say, is probably the better way to say it. Whether it's some of the folks that we're seeing with that we're looking to sort of finish up in this next month are folks that have solar installations on their homes, and then community distributed generation is another thing that's actually, frankly, the billing issues we're seeing with that are statewide across multiple utilities. So it's a billing complexity that other utilities are, their systems as well are having trouble wrapping their arms around it as well. So, previous to the transition to those new systems, these bills were so complex that we were actually billing them manually. And, it was something that we sort of did by hand, but because the program is sort of the way of the future, we went from having a few hundred of those to having more than 10,000. And you can't manually bill 10,000 customers, so that was really the impetus and the need for transitioning to this new system.
Understood. Now, I'm speaking for your Central Hudson customers who are budget billing customers, such as myself. What is something we should look for to see? Because for example, my payment is flat every month. I pay the same amount, irrespective of how much usage I've used. And again, the idea is at the end of my budget cycle year, that's the settle up month. Either I get a credit or I owe additionally. So how would a person who's on a budget plan, who's just been paying the same amount regularly every month, how would they know if they've encountered some kind of a billing problem? Would they look at their usage charts and tables, or?
Yeah, that's the first stop. And to let you know, I'm also a budget billing customer,
right.
And I just in this past month hit my reconciliation month, and due to the spike in energy prices and some increased usage on my end, frankly, I had a larger reconciliation bill than I was expecting. So the first thing I did was I went back and I looked at my usage charts, and it was, in fact, in line. The cost and the usage that I had used over the previous months was there, and then, couple that with the increase in supply costs, and it made sense. But, I understand that, I work here, and I know where to go, and sometimes customers may need some additional assistance with that. So if they do have questions surrounding their bills, the first place to go are those usage charts. I think they're super valuable tools. But if they still don't have a comfortable feeling about that bill, we do want them to reach out to us in any way they can. We'll walk them through the process. And again, if there's a discrepancy there that needs correction, we'll certainly make those accommodations.
Right. Now, Joe, as a budget customer, at the end of your reconciliation month, for instance, maybe the bill may be a few $100s more than your ordinary payment, potentially. If a customer has difficulty making that payment, are there ways that they can work with Central Hudson to pay that over time additionally, or are they required to pay that full amount by that monthly due date?
No. We have payment plans in place that, no cost, no interest payment plans that customers can enroll in. We know that, especially with the supply costs and, with COVID recovery kind of being uneven across the service area, that, folks, need help. And so if there are bills that our customers just, is beyond their financial means at this point, we can help get them on a payment plan. We'll spread out the payments as long as we need to, and there'll be, no late fees and no interest associated with those plans.
Right.
Yeah, that's really McGill, because, it's funny, you're hitting on some interesting points. I have a buddy of mine who has several apartments, and he pays their utilities in some cases. And he just worked out a situation very similar to this, where he had to go on a payment program, only because people are not paying the rent. Because of the COVID.
That's a whole other side.
It's a whole, you don't understand the ramifications of cost.
I'm sure.
That relate. But no, one of the things that he brought up when we were chatting over dinner was the fact that minimally, at least Central Hudson, was able to take the moment in time to listen to his problem and work with him on a payment program. It's a bear all around, and it has multiple effects.
Right. So, as a customer who pays a budget plan, I seem to recall in the past that like sometimes during the middle of the year, you would get a letter from Central Hudson saying we've analyzed, reviewed your usage in your account, and you were going to change your monthly payment from X to Z. And how that and it's been a long time since I've gotten letters like that from Central Hudson. But is that something that Central Hudson still does, rather than wait all the way to the reconciliation month? If a customer is trending in a way that by the time they get to the reconciliation month, they're going to be way out of whack. Do they periodically review that and check that during the middle of the year ever, or no?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks for asking. We do, absolutely. The system now will take a look into your account at 6 months, and there are thresholds for either too high or too low, where if you exceed those thresholds, we'll make an adjustment either up or down to your budget billing account to make sure that you're trending in the right direction.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that's happened to me before, where I've been paying at a certain amount, and I would get a letter from Central Hudson and saying that due to your usage, your new payment's going to be this new amount, and I've gotten that before. And then actually, it's interesting. Usually, the last couple of years, I've been fortunate. My reconciliation month is July. And I've then had a month and a half or a month without a payment, which has been...
Get over that one.
Well, or I'm just looking to break even now. I always hope to break even, but that's... but also, if that happens 2 months out of whack, they would then lower your monthly payment, correct?
Yeah. If at the 6 month period we notice that usage is... beyond the threshold on the low end, like using significantly less, then we'll adjust your payment down. And like you said, there are still some situations, this year maybe, fewer of them given supply costs, but if customers are using less and they reach their reconciliation month, they would either see a smaller bill or potentially no bill at all if they've used that much less.
And Joe, speaking of the bill, in everyone's Central Hudson bill, which I presume a lot of people would have access to online. Everyone has access to it online. I used to get it mailed to me. Now I just review it online, the PDF form of the actual bill. There's a graph. There's a chart with a graph up and down goes back 12 months. For example, when I get my bill in May of this year, it'll go back to June of the previous year. That's going back, that's a 12-month period. I think I mentioned this to you before. It would be really helpful, though, if on that graph it went back, had 13 months and went back to the May of the prior year. You see what I mean? That way, when you get your May bill in 2022, you can go back on that same graph chart and see what the bill was in May of 21. Whereas now, when I get my bill in May of 22, it only goes back on that graph chart to June of 21.
You never see 13-month program.
Right. Yeah. So what I ended up doing, I saved the prior month's bill and look at it that way. But it would be very helpful, I think, to the consumer if it went back 13 months rather than just including the 12 months.
Well, that's a program change.
Understood. I know, but programs can be changed. I don't know if you've ever heard that from anybody else or not.
It is a good point, and I think you bring a valid concern to the table. So we're always looking for ways to improve our customer experience, and a lot of that customer experience comes through our bill. So that's definitely something that we could look into to make ease of use and understanding of energy usage more prevalent for our customers.
So Joe, we're a couple months removed now, thank goodness, from the terrible ice storm that we suffered in February of this year. Anyone who drives on any of the roads or streets in our area can definitely see a lot of all the trees that have been impacted, that were impacted by this. Has Central Hudson formulated a plan or made adjustments to their tree management programs as a result of anything that occurred during that ice storm here?
Well, we did in our most recent rate case that was approved by the Public Service Commission. We did have an increase in funding to our vegetation management program.
I like that.
So that's tree. We can call it tree trimming. I think we can keep it simple. But in terms of our tree trimming program, when it comes to storms like this, we always kind of take a look at what worked, what didn't, ways that we can improve. So, and we do know that fallen limbs are the number one reason for storm-related outages. So, we do take a look at growth in areas, and if that was a major factor, then we will go back and look at our tree trimming and our management program, and we can make adjustments to, hopefully improve the resiliency and reliability of the system.
Yeah, and as it relates to the vegetation management, I love that. I love terminology. I actually like the way that sounds. The vegetation management programs, I would presume that there's a statute or something that within so many feet of a power transmission line that Central Hudson has the full authority, unilateral authority to go in and trim the vegetation back. Has there been any thoughts of adjusting that based on maybe expanding that area, or is there such a thing as a defined area where Central Hudson has that unilateral authority to trim back and clear the airspace around the lines?
Yeah, there is sort of a set, clearance area or a right of way where we have to, make sure that the lines are clear from above, below, and from side to side. But it's 50 feet from the center is where we actually have to keep clear. So, but trees continue to grow. They get
yes, they
taller,
do.
so,
You know what a big issue was? I don't know, but in Accord, before we moved, actually, was this boar ash thing, right? This beetle.
Right, yeah.
And Central Hudson, I tell you, was very responsive to some of the issues. I mean, we had 2 trees taken. They actually took down 2 trees. We called them to let them know that we were thinking of taking them down. And they said, wait a minute, are they diseased or dead or dying? And Terry said, yes. Next thing you know, someone came up to the house, inspected them, and they actually did it themselves and didn't cost us a dime. So they really, it's an amazing program that they do run, the rubs that they, we were giving them. But at the same time, there's a lot of services they provide. So you don't realize, from a rural area perspective, you don't see that in here Kingston so much.
Right.
That really, they do a wonderful job. And it was 2 big trees. And they left us the wood.
Oh, even better. Even better.
Yeah.
So, Joe, as a Central Hudson consumer, what obviously Central Hudson gets involved in the communities and tries to help out the local communities. What community initiatives does Central Hudson have planned for this year, 2022?
Well, we're going to be doing a number of things that we've actually already done a few things this year that we've done in different forms because of COVID. They've been virtual, so we did hold, our virtual summit, which is a way for developers and business owners to take a look at, sort of what's coming next in the world of renewable energy. So we are looking into potentially having another EV summit, which is sort of a way for us to educate the community in terms of electric vehicles and what's available to them, and that with the continued electrification of our entire economy, that's going to become more and more important. And of course, we're out there doing community outreach as much as we can in local areas to help folks with their bills. And we'll be participating in the local county fairs, and we'll be at an Earth Day fair on May 14th in Forsyth Park. That'll be probably the most upcoming one.
That's right here in Kingston. Yep.
Yeah, it's like anything else, it's really cost, and all these, this talk about renewable energy is great, and I think it's a good idea, and I think climate change is real. But some of the stuff they have going on in terms of 2025, 2030, it's going to be difficult to get there. So, I mean, what's the plan locally? We have solar, obviously. I don't think wind is going to be much of a help. But the solar stuff is really where it's at. And if you look, around, it takes a lot of land.
Yes, it does. All you have to do is look at the county landfill out behind the Hudson Valley Mall.
Exactly.
To see how much land was used for that facility.
And how little it does.
Well, right. You have to balance that. But
you have to balance that.
Joe, it's really, I really do appreciate you coming in and answering all the questions you have come in and answered for us. I think a lot of our listeners are obviously our Central Hudson consumers, and it's really helpful, I think, to get this information to as many people as possible. And if someone maybe doesn't have access to a computer or anything, if they needed to contact Central Hudson with questions about their bill, what's the contact number for Central Hudson again, please?
The best way to reach us, and thanks for asking, is 845-452-2700.
And I do like the fact that when you do call in, if it's busy, you can reserve a time that they'll call you back, that you don't have to remain on hold for an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I do like that feature.
Yeah, that's a good feature.
I happen to be...
my ear starts to hurt.
As Joe may guess, I do call about my bill quite often because I like to keep my finger on the pulse of exactly where I'm at. Because I've been
listen, you're right.
Particularly this year, I've been very concerned about, as a budget biller, of understanding exactly where I am. And so far, I seem to be within the tolerance levels of where, I want to be. So
I can't wait for the show when that bill comes in.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Joe, again,
thanks very much, Joe. Thank you. Good job.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate it very much, Joe. Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day, Joe. Thank you.
Again, take care.
Okay, so we got our next guest on the line. Why don't we just do a quick break and then we'll come back?
We do birthdays. We have two birthdays as well.
Oh, we got some birthdays too? Okay, good. So let's do that and then we'll come back with Joe. Okay.
I don't want the guy to hold.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, I'm Ruth Quick from town of Ulster. I support Kingston Community Radio, and you should too.
A powerful community bank is one that has leaders that are involved in their community. At Rondout Savings Bank, they invest in the success of our community by working side by side with local people and local businesses. When you choose to bank Rondout, You are part of a bank that is dedicated to the future of your success and the success of your community. Rondout Savings welcomes you to open an account today and discover what it means to be part of a powerful community bank, one that knows you by name. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and our community, with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park, also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Okay, let's go, Brandon.
There we go.
Hey, good morning. I'm Brian Waltman.
Len Bernardo.
And right now it's the top of the hour. We have our traditional birthday party here on Kingston Community Radio, and I'm going to go right into our birthdays. For Thursday, April 7th, let's wish Catherine Sis Dunn a happy birthday, love from family and many friends. May you have a glorious day. Happy birthday, Catherine.
Happy birthday.
And we also have a birthday here for Mike Corvin from your friends and family and your wife, Adele. And the grand prize winner of our Boyce Brothers Milk House Dairy Cow Pie is Mike Corvin. Happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday.
And happy birthday. And be sure to pick up your Boyce Brothers Dairy Milk House Cow Pie at 62 O'Neill Street in Kingston, New York. Happy birthday, Mike. Happy birthday, Catherine. And a very happy birthday to everyone who's celebrating their birthday today on April 7th. 2020.
And remember to send your emails or letters in for requesting or wishing people birthdays.
Yes, indeed.
It's always a fun thing, and the cow pie is great.
Delicious.
Isn't it?
I by the way, I know we have a guest online, but for the first time ever, I went the other day. I had I baked potato. I had to have the sour cream.
Right.
I went and got the Boyce Brothers sour cream.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's a whole other level.
You know how many times Terry says to me, "Did you stop there, Len?" And I said, "No." But anyway. Anyway, this morning is exciting. We have Joe Pinion on this morning. And
good morning, Joe.
He's running against Chuck Schumer. And
for United States Senator?
Yes, he is.
Wonderful.
So, Joe, if are you there, Joe?
Good morning. Good morning.
How's it going, buddy?
Absolutely. Just, trying to spread the word that people in New York have a chance to have a choice.
Yeah,
for the first time in 24 years.
Yeah, Joe, I just want, really quickly, obviously you're running, and we want people to get to know you. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's enlighten these folks of where you've been and what you've been doing, where you live.
Look, I was, most recently I was the host of Saturday Agenda on Newsmax, but as I tell people, I wasn't born on television. I was born in Yonkers, New York. Raised mostly by my mother and my grandmother. And look, really, in many ways, I've had the opportunity to work in the nonprofit sector, worked in the Southwest Bronx Poorest Congressional District in America, providing bridge grant loans for at-risk youth who were trying to get that little bit of extra money they needed to go away to college. Students who are working in conjunction with the healthcare services we were providing at the time through the healthcare center, was able to, in many ways, interface with the media through my work. As a young Republican, I was the outreach director for the New York State Young Republicans. I was the rapid response director for the National Federation of Young Republicans. And so, in many ways, as my mother says, I'm the accidental commentator. My passion
I love it.
Duty and community outreach ended up becoming the catalyst for me being able to provide political commentary on Fox News, Fox Business, CBS News, and eventually having my own show. And now, for me, looking at the political landscape that is in complete upheaval, looking at the moral obligation we have to make sure that we have an America that works for we the people again, from the inflation here at home to the war of expansion raging abroad, we felt that we had an obligation to get in this race if we believed that we could help build an uncommon coalition across political perspectives to let people know that whether you're left of Bernie Sanders, whether you're right of Donald Trump, that Chuck Schumer has failed to deliver on the obligation he has to the people of New York and the people of this nation. And together, we can choose to go a different direction.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. I'm curious about other things, quite honestly. You played football for Colgate.
I did. So I was a Colgate Red Raider. I guess we're just Raiders now. But at the end of the day, we just have to make sure that, we remind people that, again, it's always been a small, committed group of individuals who wanted to see people get their just a day that has been able to make sure that this country has remained on the pathway towards that more perfect union we seek. And so, I had the opportunity to play football at Colgate University. Over my life, I spent a great deal of time in Central New York and in the Southern Tier. And so, in many ways, I've seen firsthand the decay that we have experienced here in New York. 1 million people leaving our great state because we're a working class state filled with working class people, and the working class opportunities have bled because people like Chuck Schumer, they talk about bringing home the bacon, but many New Yorkers feel as if their belly is empty because they simply just have not actually gotten tangible services and tangible opportunities that allow people to pursue their dreams and sustain their families.
Yeah, it's a real problem, I think, too. I mean, I look at Chuck. We've known Chuck here in New York State for a really long time, and I always joke with people, and I said, we elected Chuck Schumer to take care of New York State, and basically he went to Washington to take care of Washington D.C., and it's really a problem for us. What he pulled last year, I guess during his budget time. Obviously Cuomo was having some problems, and he brought money back right to the counties. He actually went away from the state government where they usually give them the money and they dole it out, and he did it himself. So you look at this stuff and you say, what's going on? We look at the crime issue in Albany. They're not even, they're tripling down and quadrupling down Cousins and Hastie's, and Schumer's silent. He's quiet. And we look at that, you say, what is he doing? Is he representing New York or is he representing Washington? What's your view on that?
Well, look, at the end of the day, as you mentioned, right, we've seen a crime wave across this country, the likes of which we have never seen. We've got homicide up 90% in New York City. We've got shootings up 90%. We've got homicide up 30%. We had 12 major U.S. cities hit all-time highs for homicide, amongst them places like Rochester that saw more people murdered than ever before. So you look across the landscape of this country, and you see that the American people are not more homicidal. Really, it is a response to, in many ways, the three most dangerous words ever uttered in modern politics: defund the police. As a result, again, we've seen pain and suffering brought to the doorsteps of suburban and urban mothers alike, while people like Chuck Schumer put their head in the sand because it's more politically advantageous for them to say nothing and do nothing than use their power to keep and protect the people who need government to work for them the most. And so that is why we're in this race, to let people know it doesn't have to be this way, that their eyes are not lying to them, that this is abnormal. And if you're a police officer that watched 2021 become the most dangerous year to wear a badge, 125% increase in ambush attacks and assaults on law enforcement, only to turn around and watch 2022 become even more dangerous than the last. Already up 43%.
I'm a parent of a sheriff's deputy, so I know exactly what you mean with that.
It's fun. So here, I used to joke. The joke with the GOP for a lot of years was like the grand old party, a bunch of old white guys running around. So here we got a 37-year-old Joe Pinion running for Senate against Chuck Schumer. Brian, I got to tell you, this is what we need. We need youth. We need people that are going to pay attention to where we're going.
Indeed. Hey, Joe. Again, thank you so much for calling. This is really very, very helpful for our listeners to hear what you have to say this morning. Without no question about it. So there's a controversy currently in the U.S. Senate right now. It was on the news yesterday and this morning. It all revolves around the Title 42, the immigration issue, and the Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, who I think very wisely has linked this to the proposed COVID relief and additional COVID relief I would just like to hear your take on a current controversial topic in the U.S. Senate as we hear about today in the news.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's be very clear. I mean, in the height of COVID, we had a president that was talking about the fact that we needed a COVID vaccination policy for the world, that we needed to vaccinate the entire world as quickly as humanly possible. And yet at the same exact time, it was the actual policy of the Department of Homeland Security not to test the people that were crossing our southern border, so we could not do the contact tracing that would be necessary to help stop the curve as they actually claimed they wanted to do. And it was the policy of our government under Joe Biden and people like Chuck Schumer not to vaccinate the 2 million people knocking on our back door on the southern border. And so when you've seen the precipitous increase in gotaways, right, people who have crossed our border and evaded capture, right? And they're closing in on nearly 1 million people at this juncture who have been able to cross our border illegally. This is a crisis of massive proportions. It's not just national security. When we look at a refugee crisis that is headed our way, it is also just a public health nuisance. We have, again, suburban mothers, urban mothers who are burying their children because the leading cause of death right now in this country, age 18 to 45, are fentanyl overdoses. The Chinese cartels that have teamed up with Mexican cartels and flooded Main Street, USA with enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child that calls this nation home 10 and 20 times over. So that is a direct result of these policies. All of these things are connected. People want to say these things live in a vacuum. Our desire to be welcoming to others has imperiled the safety and security of the people that we have our foremost obligation to, the citizens of this nation. And so that is why we're in this race, to say that it is time to prioritize the needs of the common man again. And that is not us in any way being hostile to others. That is our way of being charitable to the people that call this nation home and honoring our constitutional obligation to make sure that people can be safe in their own skin, feel secure in their own nation, and make sure that the policies that we pass are actually helping to foster that more perfect union that we have always sought.
You know what's really amazing to me is that you mentioned something about, this fentanyl coming through. That actually, the media and the public, take this and they name it. And they name it the one-and-done drug. I mean, when we have a name for it, and it's coming over the borders as quickly, as fast as it can, there's no supply chain issue there. They got plenty of supply chain. But when we look at that, and we actually name it, we know there's a problem. Yeah. And it's a one-and-done drug. There is overdoses all over the place. It's really, and this is where I look at, this race, and I say to myself, who are we holding responsible? Chuck is the majority leader of the New York State Senate, right? He's number 2 to Biden in a way?
Yeah, he's one. Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean,
very
what are we doing
position.
Yeah, I mean, if you really break it down, you look at somebody like Chuck Schumer again. This man has been in the United States Senate for 24 years. He has been in Congress for 42 years. He was in the New York State Legislature and the Assembly 6 years before that. 48 years in government, and now he tells you that if you just give him 6 more years, he can finally deliver the bold change that New Yorkers and Americans seek. And I've told everyone where we go, if Chuck Schumer wanted to solve the problems facing New Yorkers, he's had plenty of time to do it. Any problem he solves tomorrow is likely a problem that he himself created yesterday. And so, to your point, at the end of the day, we have to have accountability in government. Our thesis for this campaign has been, if you're unhappy with the world as it is today, you cannot vote for the architects who built it. And Chuck Schumer has been building this broken world that we currently inhabit for 42 years down in D.C., and it's clearly not working for us. Again, if you're a New Yorker who's sitting there saying, my life is not better today than it was 24 years ago, then help us. Join us. As we've said, it is woodchuck season. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? We're about to find out, but I've got my axe in hand to help the people all across this state. we're going to cleave Chuck Schumer from the herd because it's what's required to make sure that we get a country that starts working for all the people that call New York home once again.
Well, Joe, that's very interesting and really quite insightful, and again puts it in perspective about how whether or not we should be even considering term limits. But that's a whole other
good example,
yeah.
right?
Well, I think, look, we need term limits, and we need them today. If there was a picture next to term limits, a picture next to career politician, it would be Chuck Schumer.
Right.
And to your point, again, people forget he has 2 offices in D.C., quite literally. One as the senior senator from the state of New York, the second as the Senate Majority Leader for the entire nation.
Right.
And so what Chuck Schumer does in the name of New Yorkers down in D.C., it impacts every single one of us. And so at some point, he has decided it's more advantageous for him to be a vessel for the most divisive politics than it is for him to be a champion for the 19 million and shrinking that call our state home. And so issue by issue, whether you're talking about the fact that we have 60% of the children attending our public schools that do not read at the proficient level, Chuck Schumer is the person who is responsible for that. I often remind people on the other side of the aisle that you want to cancel the college debt, that's great. But the person who made you a prisoner of that college debt for the rest of your natural life is Chuck Schumer. He is the one who gave the banks the protection to make sure they could keep you indebted until your last breath on this earth.
Well, you know what's really funny?
Like
You know what's really funny about that? You mentioned, high school education and stuff. I always look at a different number. The number I look at is the college preparatory graduation rate. Many of these kids get into even a junior college and it's taking 3 or 4 prerequisites to get up to speed to attend the college. This is the kind of stuff that we are paying for, and they are. And, I got to tell you, Joe, the more you talk about this, the more and more important it is. But let me ask you another different question, taking a different path. When Chuck Schumer ran first, I guess when he ran against the model, right, what was his pledge? To visit every single county, right? Yeah. And that was a big deal to him. He still talks about it. So how are you going to get on your horse? Talk about what your campaign looks like.
Well, look, for us, we have to make sure that we get out there to tell people that they have a chance to have a choice. Everywhere I go, I talk to relatively well-informed people who say, man, I really don't like that Chuck Schumer guy. Do I live in your district? That's how long Chuck Schumer has been in power. People have forgotten they have the power to remove him.
Right. And it's a statewide office.
Yeah, it's a statewide office.
Not just a tiny portion of the state, right?
Correct.
So, again, this is a man who wields more power than ever before, who has had the least amount of accountability, arguably, in the history of the United States Senate. And so we have to first educate the people on the fact that, yes, if you're unhappy with the job that he has done, you actually do have the power to remove him. Then beyond that, again, we have to raise the resources necessary, not to go dollar for dollar with him, but to have enough dollars at our disposal to let people know that they have a chance and that we have a choice, and that we don't have to continue to elect the same man to deliver poor results.
Yeah.
So that means, again, getting on stations like yours to tell people go to joepinion.com to help us out with every little bit you can. Sign up to send text messages. Send us $5. It all comes together. A little bit today means a whole lot tomorrow. But again, it's those soccer moms and those PTA moms who are concerned about the fact that their children are not receiving the education they deserve, and then they're finding a government who's more concerned with putting them on a terrorist watch list and ensuring their children get prepared and given the skills they need to become the best version of themselves. So, these are the things that we're trying to talk about all across this country to say that, look, it doesn't have to be this way. This is abnormal. I keep saying that because it's the truth. And that the things that plague us here at home and abroad, the war of expansion that we see now, Putin raging, the signs were there a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, where we have people like Chuck Schumer who are always ready to wage more war, but never willing to do what is necessary to prevent the war from starting in the first place.
Yeah, they reduced the military spending. Think about this stuff.
In any case, if you just tuned in, Ladies and gentlemen, if you just tuned in, got in your car. Oh, sorry, Joe, I'm talking over you. If you just tuned in, we're chatting with Joe Pinion. He's the candidate for the United States Senate from New York. And if Joe's bringing up some tremendous points, but I just want to let everybody in the audience know exactly who they're listening to, in case they just got in the car and they're hearing all these pearls of wisdom. We want to let them know they're listening to Joe Pinion. He's a candidate for the New York State Senate. Joe, you brought up something very interesting before, the whole topic of forgiveness of college student loans. And I believe firmly that one of the unintended consequences of all this indebtedness that people have is that it's actually made college tuitions more expensive because the banks know these loans are guaranteed. The students there's not a lot of, you're 19, these people are 17, 18, 19 years old. They're signing up for, in some cases, for $300,000 worth of debt and without any background checks or checking into ability to pay. And I just really believe that it's been a way for colleges to really increase their cost of tuition and made college more expensive for our children. So I want to thank you for bringing that up before. Really, I think it's a very important topic.
Well, absolutely. And I think, again, when you look at the hard truth, most parents, they don't want everything to be given to them, but they just want it to be a little bit easier. And again, when you have college institutions that have abused a policy intended to make sure that dollars were not a barrier to children getting the opportunity they deserve to go on to college, and used it to have college tuition go up over 300%. That has no bearing on financial reality anymore. Right? You have diplomas that can in every way generate the resources necessary to pay off the debt the diploma generated. Because again, to your point, it's become completely untethered from reality. So for us, there are things that we know that we can do to say that, look, you can charge whatever you want as a university, but if that diploma does not result in a career path that can actually pay the debt, then we can start having real conversations about the actual nonprofit status of these institutions, right? I think in many ways, if colleges were responsible for ensuring the degrees that they conferred allowed people to have a financial shot in life, we would see college tuition start going down again. So there's plenty of stuff we can do. I'm a nerd with no life, so we can talk about that all day long. But at the end of the day, again, the main issue is to let people know that, again, you've got one man who yields more power than any senator in the country, and yet the issues that plague New Yorkers remain unaddressed. The SALT deductions that are killing New Yorkers have not been redressed. The issue that we have right now, children not reading at grade level, not receiving redress. The fact that right now we've got crime and homicide going up across this state, no redress. So those are the issues. And if you're tired of getting the lip service from somebody who says that only he can fix it, you got to go a different way this fall.
Hey, Joe, to be honest with you, I think lip service would be great. The silence is what bothers me about New York State. And I got to tell you, and I'm not trying to make this up, I really do believe, I never hear the guy talking about New York State, ever. That silence, Steffens is crazy. But he's worried about, again, the political atmosphere in Washington, D.C. And he's supposed to represent New York State.
Yeah, coincidentally enough, the senator was in Kingston within the last 2 weeks. And I guess the emphasis of his message was that he might just perhaps could possibly get us maybe $20 million for our waterfront here in Kingston. So that was really the point of his conversation, by the way, which would result in about a third of that to a half of that going straight to the pockets of consulting firms.
Of course.
So, it's just, if he were ever to get it. But again, we're chatting with Joe Pinion. Pinion and just candidate for the United States Senate. We're so happy to have him on, and what would be your core message to the constituents of New York State as to why you really want to be our United States Senator?
Look, I think for me it's quite clear. New Yorkers matter. Your lives matter. Your children matter. Your grandparents matter. If you're a family like ours, that watched in the horror of my grandmother. She was 100 years old. She raised me primarily, my mother and my grandmother, and yet she had to take her last breaths alone. in a nursing home
Terrible.
because of COVID policies, even though I was fully vaccinated, my mother was fully vaccinated, her siblings were fully vaccinated. What is the virtue of passing policies in the name of public health if they strip our existence of the humanity that is supposed to be embedded in this nation that we love? So again, issue by issue, you just find yourself living in a world where the hallmarks of what America is supposed to be no longer seem to be present in our day-to-day realities, because the people we have entrusted to see around the corner, to prevent problems from becoming a crisis, in many ways have allowed government to become the chief driver for the pain and suffering of the common man. And so at some point, you just have to say enough is enough. That is why I resigned from behind an anchor desk to try to place my name on a ballot to say that it just doesn't have to be this way. We are no longer in a left versus right fight. We are in a right versus wrong struggle. And whether you're left of Bernie, whether you're right of Donald Trump, I'm here to tell you that what has happened to New Yorkers is simply wrong. And Chuck Schumer has been too wrong for too long, which is why in this election we believe that if we just get the word out there to let people know that there is an alternative, that we can find ourselves in a much better situation come day after election day in 2022.
It's common sense government again. It has to be. If we don't have, we have this partisan politics right now is being pushed, shoved down our throats from the federal level and the state level. It's got to stop. But Joe, I got to tell you, whoever wrote your bio for this, what do you call it? Witty Links or whatever it's called, they say that I laughed at this and I thought it was cute, quite frankly. They talked about how you're a very smart guy and you're a good-looking guy. How true was that?
Well, look, I don't know. I don't know which one of the wikis you're looking at, because it's the power of the internet or the destruction of the internet, where people put things on the internet and then they just stay there forever. And look, so
it says furthermore, opinion.
There's the Joe Opinion Wikipedia page, and there's the one that was put together by the people in India, probably paid for by the DNC.
Well, here this one says cute. It says, Pinion is a handsome man with an athletic body. Very happy about that.
So, again,
Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in. We really appreciate you. Wish you all the very best, and we hope to have you back on the air again.
Let's definitely get him back on.
And look
and when you
forward
beat
to
Chucky, you definitely come back on once a week. How's that?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm happy to join you all day, every day. As I said, Chuck does the full Schumer, all 62 counties, but he's never stopped to look at the pictures in despair year by year by year. So go to joeopinion.com, help us be that difference, make the change, and together we're going to build a New York State that works for each and every one of us.
Thank you, Joe, so much. Joe, just so you know, I will keep in touch with your campaign folks to see if you can get back here perhaps next month to give us some update on how you're feeling and where you've been and what you're doing. How's that?
Next month, next week, it all works. So
excellent.
Joe, thank you so much for coming on with us this morning, and wish you all the very best of success. Thank you,
Joe. Thanks and good luck, brother.
Good luck. Okay, back to the control tower.
Yeah, let's take a quick break, and I got Rich Amador in the lobby, and then we'll get into it with him.
Beautiful.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Around any bend in any road, any time of the day or night, Central Hudson crews can be found working in the Hudson Valley. From Montgomery to Millerton, Freehold to Fishkill, and many points in between. We mark our work zones for safety's sake. As a driver, you can do your part too. Slow down, pay attention, put down the phone, and obey the flaggers. Be prepared to stop and maintain a safe distance from the vehicle in front of you. Safety matters.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the why for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Brian Waltman, joined in the studio as my co-host with Len Bernardo.
Good morning.
And we have a very special in-studio guest this morning.
Which is fun.
It is. We'd like
really
in-studio is great. It's as good as the calls are. In-studio is even better.
I mean,
but we have Rich Amador. He's the candidate for the New York State Senate from the 48th Senatorial District. Is that correct?
It is correct. Good morning.
Good morning, Rich, and thank you so much for coming in.
That's great,
appreciate you driving down to stop in and visit with us this morning.
My pleasure.
It's important stuff, man. I tell you, we're in a place right now, they're quadrupling down on stuff now.
Oh, yeah.
It's scary stuff.
Well, they have super majorities in both houses.
Yep.
So they just feel they can push the limit right now.
Yeah,
so
they can.
We need to draw a line. And
play wiffle ball in the parking lot.
It's really me. You had a tough race last time, obviously,
yeah.
And you're back at it. And I got to respect that. And I'm sure you thought a lot hard about it. Tell us about that feeling.
Well, it was a little disappointing. We were up 8,200 on election night, as you know. Absentee ballots, there was about 14,000 in at that point, so we figured with 8,000 up, we were in good shape. 14,000 more came in, so there was over 28,000 absentee ballots.
So just so the listeners know, there's a deadline from when absentee ballots have to be mailed out prior to election day, and they need to be received by a certain point, correct?
Right.
Usually,
it's a week after election day.
Okay.
So in the following, that's why we knew there was going to be, the count wasn't even going to start till they all came in either. That was another issue.
Mm-hmm.
But over the next 6 weeks, they started counting from the west, from Montgomery County, which we were way up in, and even we got to Ulster County, we were still up 3,000. So we said, okay, we got a shot here, and it didn't go well.
Rich, it's a really interesting issue, but that didn't happen just to you. It happened all over the state.
There was nine senators.
That's correct.
9 of us were all up on election night
That's
between
right.
5 and 20,000.
It's really funny. We had Nick Langworthy on shortly after the election. And he's hot. He's stoked. He's up here, like you said. And that was a devastating election season.
And a lot of people told me, oh, well, just everybody voted by absentee ballot, which that was not necessarily the case. Even in the Trump election in 2016, there was 140,000 votes in the district. This election had over 160,000.
Right.
So a lot of those were.
We don't know what they were.
We don't know what they were.
Right. That's cool. I mean,
but we're in a new era now.
Right.
Just so our listeners know, Rich Amador, they may be familiar with him because he was the candidate during the last election cycle for the same seat. But Rich, for maybe some of our listeners who are unfamiliar with it, why don't you let us know what your background is and what you think you would like to and why you would like to be in the New York State Senate.
I born and raised up in Catskill, New York. Went to high school up there in Catskill. Went to Columbia Green, 2-year degree, engineering. Was going to go to New Paltz to finish up my engineering degree because IBM was big in the area at the time. So I said, let's go there. IBM had some issues, you remember, in the 80s. So I joined the military to get money for college, too. So I went 2 years active duty.
What branch?
Army.
And you mean you didn't take a loan? You really wanted to do it?
Well, they had a bargain offer I couldn't refuse. Yeah. It was a 2-year enlistment. I got $24,000 for college,
right.
and I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
I went to the Air Force Academy on the same kind of
nice,
gig. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, but I only had to put in $100 a month for the first year, and I got $24,000 when I came out, which seemed good at the time. When I got out, though, I was 24. Didn't really feel like going back to school. I had taken a state police test before I went in. So I got out in 88, worked back. I was union carpenter in between there. I did everything for 2 years in the 80s. My dad and brothers, and we were all union carpenters working at the IBM plants here. So I worked there for a short time between, and then I got right into State Police Academy in 89, spring of 89. Worked all of Ulster County, broke in under Jack Hayes, conservative chaired. Sure. Yeah, he was my first sergeant down in Highland. Over in Ellenville, Shokan for Craig Grazier, another Ulster County. Yeah. And I worked up in Kingston, too, for a short time. And in the early 90s, I transferred to Catskill, which I spent the majority of my career at Catskill, and then I went to Greenville, cause we bought a farm up in Greenville. Live on a small farm, 70 acres, up in Rensselaerville, New York. We adjoined 3,000 acres of estate land, so I didn't care what the house looked like. I loved the land. The land is beautiful. Can't grow much up there. It's a 2,000-foot hill, so it's still winter up
I get it.
But raised our 2 children in Greenville School District, and every time I thought about transfer, my wife's like, "You're not going anywhere until kids graduate high school," because we knew what was important. Kids are a priority. So I stayed in Greenville for 25 years. My son's in the military now. He's a guardsman, Buffalo unit. He went over to Ukraine in 2017 because if you remember, the Biden-Obama administration Biden refused to give military aid to Ukraine back then. So Trump came in, gave him the Javelin missiles. Well, my son was in one of the original units that went over and taught him how to use the Javelin missiles.
Oh, as an instructor, he was?
Wow. So his unit went over. He was doing security. They were doing instructing. But I told him it must be kind of gratifying to see that your work. They did some good stuff over there because
they are doing something.
And so he ended up meeting a woman over there, a very nice lady. She was a teacher, spoke very good English, and they dated for the year he was there, and then they dated online for a year, and then he ended up going back over, proposing to her, and she came back over.
It's a great story.
Yeah, in March of 2020, so that wasn't a great time to come here. But we had a very little wedding in the woods because you couldn't go anywhere. Yeah. So we made a nice outdoor chapel, and a friend of mine, Judge, came up, and she was on the planning board with me, and they got married in the woods. In November of last year, my wife, my daughter, my son, his best friend, we all went back over to Ukraine, and they got married in her church. Wow. Yeah, so it was very nice to meet her family finally. They were so happy to know, we saw them online, but they don't speak any English, so it was very... But we spent 2 weeks with them and really got to know them, and that's why this is so heartbreaking. When you see a failure of leadership on this level, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
You look at the failure of leadership, but it goes right from the assembly to the Senate, sometimes locally, and here we are, right? I'm gonna bring it back to Senator Hinchy for a second, and it's just mind-boggling to me. It truthfully is when we have all this stuff going on with crime, and I'm going to mention it, and I know everybody's beating it to a dead horse, but I really don't care, quite frankly.
It is the issue.
It is the issue, and to be silent, it's like she went to Albany for what? To work for New York?
She claimed she was going to be the voice of upstate New York. And
what happened?
The voice, well, she's got another voice in her head. It's the voice of New York City Democrats.
It is, isn't
she
it?
moves her mouth and their voice comes out.
They've quadrupled down on it now.
Yeah.
The budget's being held up for it.
That's exactly the point. The budget is being held up because Kathy Hochul is trying to make simple things that aren't even nearly what we need to do to make to make us safe, but they won't even agree to that.
All related to the bail reform from 2019, right?
Why isn't Hinchy talking about it? Has anybody talked about that?
Yeah, she doesn't have the experience and the knowledge to know. And that was my point on this election from the get-go. I never went after her personally or any of that stuff.
This is not a personal issue.
I said
want you to know
the campaigns are supposed to be hiring the best person for the job. That's the only way democracy works, when you hire the best person for the job. I'll put my resume against her resume any day of the week. I have life experience. I was a planning board chairman in my town. I ran a statewide union. I was executive director of the Troopers Union. That was
right?
At the end of my career. Yeah. I got elected twice statewide.
Very cool.
By 4,000 troopers in our union, and they elected me to represent their issues on a statewide level. So I mean, I had experience at every level of local government, state government, because we were over at the state all the time, and I just didn't think she had that last time. And now it's coming very clear that she has no experience, because what is she going to say to you about bail reform?
Well, that's
she
the
doesn't
issue.
know anything about it.
And I have to say this, and I just want to be clear on one thing. And this, I'm not beating her up. I want you to understand that completely. This is more of how is she representing her constituents. And listen, she won the seat coming out of New York City. She went to Albany. And she's hanging out with the same people. How do we start to make people understand that she needs to represent this district?
Right.
I mean, George did a great job. With all the respect to George Amador.
Now, government has two main jobs: keep you safe and educate your kids. Right. That's simple, right? They're failing on every level. Federally, the federal government has to do the keep you safe from the outside threats, and it's more or less the state government has to protect you from internal threats. Because even though you have local police and county sheriffs, they all abide by the state penal law. That's why the state is so important. The state is writing the laws that the police officer in the area has to follow. And this is what drives me crazy, right? Lawmakers now, they're not done with bail reform. They're trying to take away qualified immunity. So if a person acting as a police officer affects an arrest and something bad happens and they get sued, the AG used to be a qualified immunity. So they would protect them, and they would not protect them, but they would represent them in a case so that you had the adversarial system.
When they protect their records and things like that, their personnel records.
Well, that was another thing. We had 50A was a thing. So because in New York City in the 70s, they would give their full personnel jacket to the protester to go to their houses, and they'd threaten their families and stuff. So actually, a member of Long Island, they had 50A.
So just so our listeners understand, go back because that went through pretty quickly. You mean there was a time in the state of New York where people could get access to personal records of where law enforcement people lived, so there was
everything in their entire personnel jacket.
So there was an action taken to correct that, to shield them from harm or any danger, and now that's something they want to take away?
Oh, no, they took it away.
They took it away.
They took it away. It's 50A. It's Section 58 of the Civil Rights Law. It was a civil right of police officers, they said, to not have their information out there.
Right.
And the gang in Albany right now, that was one of the things. Right after bail reform, they took it away.
That's correct.
So now, my son took the state police test 2 weeks ago, and I know a lot of young people are taking it and trying to become police officers. What incentive is there to become a police officer? You're risking everything. Look at this trooper we had out on the thruway. Went to stop a car at a high rate of speed.
In excess of 100 miles an hour at the first encounter.
And now he's looking at...
Yeah, I know. My son is the sheriff's deputy, and as a parent of a sheriff's deputy, who he works night shift, and so I wake up every morning and just say, "Please God, that
Well, there's probably a guy that's pretty
safe tour."
My reverend in my church. Now he moved, and I'll explain that. Reverend Jerome John.
I know Jerome. Yes.
You know Jerome well. Well, he moved from New York State to Michigan because his son became a Michigan State trooper, and he was concerned. He's a new kid, good-looking boy, big boy, just like Jerome, right? So he went out there just to be family support. And so you can almost understand these moves, why you feel the way about your son, why he feels. And this is what we should be doing. And it just boggles my mind, man. It's just...
It is. And that's the thing. As a young guy, he could get in a situation he doesn't even understand, where Jerome has seen that 100 times, because that's in the union. People would come to me. I didn't have to research most answers. I lived 30 years on the road as a trooper. You learn a lot of stuff. You've been through it before.
So in case you just tuned in, we're sitting in the studio this morning visiting with Rich Amador. He's the candidate for the New York State Senate from our district here in Kingston and the surrounding area, the 48th Senatorial District. And we're just so happy and honored to have him in the studio with us and have a chance to catch up with him. And obviously, in the news right now in New York State, the budget is late. We talked about it a little bit earlier. That has a tremendous impact on us who are looking to be voting in a month or so, May 10th here, for our school budgets, because the school districts don't even have an idea yet of what state aid or assistance they're going to be getting because the budget hasn't been passed. So that it has a cascading effect, the delayed budget in Albany. What's your view on that, Rich, on delayed budgets?
I just want to add something to help you. Not help you, but give you a different perspective on it. I don't mind the budget being late, and I need you to understand that. If it's late for, like I said earlier.
You said it earlier, yeah.
If it's late for a reason, we're trying to work in a direction of something, a positive numbers, cost savings issue for the people of New York State. Right. This is over our crazy laws and a football stadium. So now I want your perspective on, it could be late, can it or can it, but it's where we are.
I think the main reason it is late is that they try to stick all these things in a budget process that doesn't belong there. Right. Last year, I don't know if you even know this, most people don't know it. Cuomo stuck in the budget immunity for nursing home directors because he forced them to take COVID positive patients.
Right.
They went to him and said, listen, we don't have ability to deal with these folks. There's going to be a lot of people dying. I will give immunity to you from civil and criminal prosecution. Why do you think this is? Nobody's talking about this issue. That's the issue.
Right.
All this linkage that really has nothing to do with the paying New York State's bills.
Exactly. But then Kathy Hochul has the nerve to go in there and say, I had no idea any of this was going on. You're a heartbeat away. You better have a clue. That was my position. I was vice president of a union. We had a president, Tommy Mungier, great guy. I was there though. I had to know what was going on every day and be able to step in. She was not.
With all due respect to Governor Hochul, I'm sure she did, because she artfully held back the insertion of the $600 million state aid into the Buffalo Bills new stadium until only 4 days before the budget was due.
And they didn't even know it.
Yeah,
and it was artful because it was pretty well hidden.
It was hidden, but interestingly enough, there were articles. Anyone who read I read the Buffalo News, they had stories on it about 3 weeks ago. How it was being held back because they were they didn't want, because the vast majority of the state representatives are from the New York City metropolitan area, and they really wanted to keep it on the DL down low until the last possible minute so they could get it, and I think it's backfired now on the governor.
That doesn't seem like a good way to run government.
No,
Keep things quiet from the public until the last minute, and that's
correct.
what they keep going forward, screwing things up, knowing that they'll have to do a fix for it down the road, which will cost more money, get to raise taxes. There was a bill the other day introduced by Senator Assemblywoman Fahey in Albany, wants to introduce a tax of 2 to 5 cents a gallon per round of ammunition manufactured in New York State.
I saw that.
And you know what it's going to go to?
Right.
An institute to study why crime is up.
Yeah. And
I can save everybody in the state of New York a whole department of taxation and all this stuff. In 2 minutes, I can tell her exactly why crime is up.
Well, they probably have a consultant firm in mind for this that's already given them campaign contributions. So
that was a great interview with Senator Kennedy. Opinion.
Thank you for that.
That was very good.
Interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm not a politician. That's what I say. He speaks so well.
It's okay. Listen. The whole, that was always a big thing. I'm not a politician. I hate to say this way. It's not about politics. You know what it's about? It's about the constituents. It's about your tax dollars. I'll joke all day long every time I speak to anyone who's about to be elected or is running for office. I say one thing. Listen, if you get elected, we pray that you do, you have to take a really strong look at the cost of property taxes as they relate to senior citizens. We need a break. We're on fixed
income. 2 years ago, budget was $178 billion, right?
Right.
Last year's budget, $212 billion. Where'd that money come from? It's coming from the feds right now.
Right.
But the problem is Chuck Schumer just keeps shoveling it to New York. Everybody wonders where inflation and all this came from. They've been manufacturing money with nothing behind it. Right. So now this year it goes up $4 billion, more dollars. Do you realize the Senate's proposed budget was $225 billion? They wanted more money to go and grease the wheels. And this is how they get elected.
No question about it.
We're bringing the bacon home. At some point it becomes...
We don't need it. We need infrastructure. I get the infrastructure issues. But quite frankly, when I look at the money, it's like people have to stop, you, and your constituents have to realize, where is this money coming from? It's coming from us.
Well, indeed. And here's the American Rescue Plan, the ARPA money that the city of Kingston is getting $17.4 million over 2 years. Ulster County is getting $34 million. Right. Locally, you say, oh, great for us, right? But if you really take the 100,000-foot view on it, and extrapolate those kind of numbers across the entire country, if the city of Kingston is getting a little town like Kingston is getting $17.4 million, Ulster County with only 180,000 people in it is getting $34 million, and you multiply that out across the entire United States. Wow. There you're looking at, and you wonder why our national debt's ballooning. You wonder why there's inflation, hyperinflation, and it's A lot of this is Genesis.
They're discussing how they're going to spend the $81 million they have in Albany. Because I get the news there. $81 million that they don't know what to do with. Too much money.
For the first time in the history of the United States of America, New York is taking in more tax dollars than giving out. Wow. Check that one out. We don't need. Listen. Everybody wants money.
I made when I was young. I knew what I was good at. And I knew what I wasn't good at.
Right.
I married the most frugal woman in high school.
Perfect.
And I never made a lot of money in my life, but her and I are comfortable now. My daughter's a doctor of physical therapy with almost no debt. We paid almost all of her, everything.
Fantastic.
Because we knew if we saddled her, she graduated top of her class in Sage and with a 4-year degree, and she had no debt at that point. We thought we were done. She says they automatically enrolled me in physical therapy school. Right. So I said, "What's the deal?" She goes, "They told me to borrow $160,000
there you go.
for 3 years." And she says, I said, "What are you going to do?" And she even knew better than that because she worked, at all the farms in the area. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "I'm not doing that." And she made a deal with me, and we managed to split the tuition with her. She took a few loans out, but she came out with a doctorate with no debt. But that's what people used to do. And the joke is, my wife and I had to eat rice and beans for the last 3 years. But
I got to tell you, Terry's mom and dad, right? They're in their late. Dad's 84, her mom's 81. Their biggest claim to fame. My wife has a master's, and Terry Bernardo, she was chairman of the legislature. Their claim to fame is when Terry got out of college and her master's, she had zero debt. And people used to work to that.
Right. That was an aspirational goal.
That was an aspirational goal.
As was paying off your morttage.
Correct.
Right?
Who sounds like the Dave Ramsey show now.
No, but it's true.
Finances
but 100%.
People have to wake up.
No question about it.
We got into a conversation 2 weeks ago, last week, or whatever, and they were yelling at me, and I was saying, you don't understand, people have to realize we need to educate.
Oh, with the New York State, right.
We need to educate. It's my alarm at home.
And that's the other thing. I love this affordable housing. Housing is definitely an issue.
Right.
Affordable housing is not an issue. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to live where the affordable housing is. Right. I had a town up by me that they sold 2 houses, for $80,000 not that long ago.
Wow.
But nobody wants to live in the middle of nowhere with limited services and all that stuff.
Well, and then on the other hand, no one wants unaffordable housing.
Oh, well, that's true.
It's a whole.
It's really people need to. I have to say this. Pay attention to what's going on around them. Right. The voters do. We have to get them out to vote. And the discussion was, well, people aren't ready to sign petitions, and they're not ready to get involved, but they have to. They have to, yeah. They really do.
This is the thing. I mean, there's a whole strip. I just was watching a thing yesterday about the middle of France is unoccupied. There's just nobody there because everybody's along the coast.
Right.
As is every other developed country. Everybody wants to live. And young people, instead of wanting to go on and work on the land and do things, they want to go to urban areas where they can. That's an unsustainable lifestyle when too much of the population goes to these urban centers. Yeah. And they said the other problem was second homeowners buying homes in these nice area, mountainous areas. A lot like what's happening here, but the same thing is happening worldwide. Yeah. We need to make policy that encourages people to live on the land. I have a little farm. Thank God I don't have to be a farmer because I couldn't make money doing it. I mean, I could feed myself, but that would be about. But how do you pay your taxes? How do you pay all the other things?
Correct.
I never had a cell phone until 2010. First of all, they didn't work where I was, but second of all, we couldn't afford it.
No, I get it. It's
cable TV. Still don't have cable TV.
Well, don't even get started with that. I go on moratorium, but that's a different issue. No, because of cost. But we have to get New York straight. So what's the message? How are you getting your message out this time? Are you making any changes?
Oh, yeah. Well, the district changed quite a bit.
Right,
so,
it did.
Yeah.
For now.
They're
going to hold today.
It's going to go to the Court of Appeals.
Yeah, I know that.
And I don't know if you know who appointed the Court of Appeals.
Well, you do know that it went to the Court of Appeals, and they said Tuesday.
Talking about the redistricting, folks.
Yeah, on Tuesday, they said that they were going to keep everything the way it was, and they were going to come up with a formal decision today.
Right.
So that's where we are. But so anyway, getting back to the point of how you're going to change different things.
Yeah, we need to get this criminal justice thing straightened out because you're not safe in your own home right now. And I mean, I lived this for 30 years, and I know The young guys came on 2 years ago. They said, we don't know the old way, so we don't know any difference. Even now, I talk to the young police officers, and they're just like, this is ridiculous. I talk to the DAs. This was the problem. When they put this law in effect, they never talked to any criminal justice experts. They talked to defense attorneys and social justice experts, but they had no input. They took 400 years of tradition in New York. Our laws were based in Dutch tradition. They have been updated and revised in incremental fits and starts. These guys wholesale took care of everything out and then put all this new nonsense in, which this discovery is just ridiculous. I mean, and now everybody has a camera. So if somebody draws a pepper spray or something, it sets everybody's camera off. So say I write you a ticket on the road and everybody's camera goes off. Guess what? I got to get everybody's video.
Right.
It takes hours. A DWI can take up to 8
They have no
hours.
place to view it. I have another question for you.
And there's just no storage for the doc for the.
Have you ever thought about what this law is costing? Your district in terms of.
It's just
So you know what I'm going
I know exactly. When police officers can't get out on the road, because that's a job. Sergeants in the station usually just throw cops out on the road. Get on the road. Let people see you. Half of your deterrent ability is your ability to be seen.
A presence.
The presence. They can't be seen now. They can't even get out there because they're tied up doing paperwork. DA's offices are overwhelmed, and they gave them a one-time shot last year of like $400,000 per. It was some ridiculous. But that was a one-shot. They keep doing these one-shot fixes. Get the solution to make the process streamlined enough that they can actually do it with the personnel that they have.
Speaking of Rich Amador, these are really important issues, and it's about getting out the vote and educating people on where we're going. He's doing a great job, and I don't want to stop you, but really, these are the...
But criminal justice is a huge issue right now. We need
public safety,
public
no
safety on every level. And it's not just, it's our judges. Every part of it was working for about 80% of New York. Upstate New York, we didn't have the issues. The whole thing got changed over because of Rikers Island. Fix Rikers Island. Don't screw up the whole system.
Correct.
I mean, that was the problem. New York City, you never went to jail unless you did a robbery. You could do burglaries and all this stuff, which I always felt bad. Kids in New York City are doing burglaries and stuff, never going to jail. Kid up here, we arrest him for burglary and he could potentially go to jail. But this was the level. It was a huge difference. Fix New York City's problem. Don't destroy the whole state.
Don't import their problems to
Secondly, but we got to get spending under control. We have no fiscal restraint right now. If you want more,
it's a money party.
And that's what it is. And they're raising your taxes, and they're just going. And we have to get fiscal house in order up in Albany because it's out of control. And that's the thing. Most Republican conservative types want less government intervention. They want to. The Democrats are dumbing it down to the lowest common denominator. They have to tell you now when to do this and when to do this. It's silly. Let's go back to a government that doesn't interfere with your life. And that's why I always chose to, when I was on the road enforcing the law, I was as least interactive as I needed to be to make somebody get close to where they needed. I was not abusive and punitive with things. You had to, look, there's ways to help people comply instead of abuse and punishing.
Well, Rich, we're coming up to the hour, but I do want to ask you just really quickly, first, thank you.
Yeah,
but
thank you very much.
This fentanyl, this one-and-out drug, I mean, it's stunning how it just goes over everybody's head.
Yeah. Well,
it's part of the same issues.
Yeah. Well, Trump was trying to fix it because a lot of it gets mailed in from China. It can get mailed right here because if you just say this and that, and then the other part is the border. You need border security.
I hope you come back again. I do.
I get invited. I'll come back.
Oh, good. You'll get invited because, listen, we want to. I was telling Joe, and I'll tell you the same thing. We're going to ask you to keep coming back. Whether you give us an update once a month, it's up to you.
Oh, I'd love
if it's too much, you let us know.
No, the district is this. I don't know if in state police world, Ulster and Greene County were one zone. So I'm so familiar. I worked here. I know the roads. I don't, I made a joke. I don't use GPS, and then Ryan A. rolled in Saugerty. He says, "How come you call me and ask me where the firehouse?" I'm like, "Well, you're a fire guy, so you know where all the firehouses are."
And there's so many little ones.
Yes,
like there's Asbury, Catspan, that little firehouse on that old
I know the roads. I may not know the actual buildings, but
Thanks again. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
We wish you well.
Yeah, Rich Amador, candidate for New York State Senate from the 48th Senatorial District. It's a pleasure having you, and wish you really all the best of success. I'm very grateful that you came in today.
Please come back, and
I appreciate it, gentlemen.
Keep going at it.
Yep.
All right, have a great day, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Thank you. Bye.